David Crisafulli is Queensland's new Premier, and a new chapter of the Brisbane Olympic Stadium conundrum has just begun. Although hopefully now we can finally get things straightened out. I was fortunate enough to speak to David just before the election and get his thoughts on a variety of topics. Olympic Stadium and infrastructure are covered in this video. My name is Pikos, and today we're talking tactics. For an in-depth look at exactly how he ended up with the Olympic Stadium mess that we're currently in, check out this video I released a few months ago. Today's video is a quick look at what's going to happen with the stadiums now that the LNP has gained power in Queensland. First, it's official. QSAC has been scrapped as the main stadium, and thank goodness for that. It would have been an international embarrassment if that was what Brisbane offered up to the world, and I'm glad it's one of the first acts of Premier Crisafulli's new administration. It gives us a good taste of the style of government that's going to be run, one where the sleeves are being rolled up and the work is getting done. So that leaves three options from what I can see: a $2.7 billion rebuild of the Gabba in Wollongabba, a $3.4 billion new stadium at Victoria Park, and the $6 billion Hamilton Northshore Stadium proposal, though that one would be largely privately funded with only the land offered up to the developers for free. There have been a few rumblings about a new stadium on the site of the old Toombul shopping centre, but developer Mirvac has plans to redevelop that into new apartments, smaller scale shopping, retail and hospitality. Plus, with some serious flooding issues, I think it would be hard to get a scheme together to stack up. Now, before the election, David Crisafulli had said that no new stadiums were going to be built for the Games. That would seem to rule out Victoria Park and Northshore Hamilton, leaving only the Gabba rebuild. But he also made a commitment to follow the advice of an independent delivery authority. And if they recommend a new stadium to be built at Victoria Park or Northshore Hamilton, I say we should follow expert advice that is backed up by a business case. We've seen the mess the previous Palaszczuk and Miles administrations have left us by ignoring professional opinions and going with captain calls. We need a return to stability and facts supported by feasibility studies and business cases. I also want to remind everyone that the federal government has committed to $3.43 billion for venue infrastructure. This is a free kick for Queensland, and we should be using this money wisely. $2.5 billion was earmarked for Brisbane Live Arena and $935 million for minor venues. The Deputy Premier, Jared Blage, revealed this week that the funding agreement between the Queensland and Commonwealth governments would also be reviewed to see if the cash could be repurposed and used to fund a potential main stadium. He said, "I've spoken to Catherine King, the Infrastructure Minister, also spoken to Anika Wells, the Sports Minister, federally, and advised them that the scope of the review will include all the venues and the original agreements that were put in place between the government and the International Olympic Committee." Tim Mander, the state member for Everton, has been appointed as the Minister for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. He was previously an NRL referee and ran the 2004 and 2005 NRL Grand Finals, so he has some experience with professional level sport and stadium operations. He said the priority would be the 100-day review of Olympic infrastructure, which the LNP committed to ahead of the election. So yes, the 100-day review into the key Olympic venues that Premier David Crisafulli proposed pre-election is about to begin. A new independent infrastructure coordination authority will be appointed and tasked with mapping out the infrastructure and transport needs for our state beyond just the Games.
Why is an independent infrastructure delivery authority so important? Well, it's because you get everyone to have skin in the game. You have the Brisbane City Council and the South East Council of Mayors, and let's be honest, they drove the original bid. And they drove it not because of Sporting Stadium, by the way. They drove it because they wanted to talk about connectivity across the fastest growing region in the country. That was their vision. I know one of your concerns is about the timeline, and there'll be many people in this room who say, I'm concerned we're running out of time. But think about Sydney. Sydney were awarded the Games in 93, so that's 7 years out. We're not quite there yet. It was in 95 that an incoming government set up exactly what I'm talking about, which is an independent infrastructure coordination authority. and they delivered some great generational infrastructure, including some transport infrastructure. So I do think we have time. I would have loved us to have used the last 1,000 days rather than spin our wheels and go nowhere. We are going to have world-class venues. We do need to have world-class venues. And I think it's important that we have a proper independent infrastructure coordination authority to drive that and lead that. There's been over 1,000 days of stuffing around. Give us 100 days and you'll have a world-class plan you can be proud of.
The 100-day review should finish up in around about March 2025, more than 1,250 days since Brisbane was awarded the Olympics. It will be interesting to see what the review says and then what Premier David Crisafulli decides to go with. I think the Premier has a big challenge ahead of him, especially since the LNP only won 5 seats in the Brisbane area. It was the regions that won the election for Crisafulli, and if you believe the pollsters, a new stadium for Brisbane is not popular in the regions. But I personally think we need to have a long-term vision for our state's capital. Brisbane is a city of 2.7 million people, forecast to be 4 million by 2040. If we undercook this, future generations will continue to miss out on events like Taylor Swift, and people from all over Queensland will have to travel to New South Wales and Victoria and spend their money there. I don't think that's a great outcome for Queenslanders, whichever part of the state you're in. If an independent review recommends a new stadium to be built at either Victoria Park, Northshore Hamilton, or a redevelopment of the Gabba, I think the Premier should follow the advice of the experts. It's time to put politics aside and focus on the best multi-generational plan for Queenslanders. I'm going to keep following the updates on the Brisbane Olympics and the key venues as they are announced, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to hear the real story first. I've asked this before, but let's ask again. Which venue do you think will become the main Olympic stadium for Brisbane in 2032 now that David Crisafulli is in charge? Are you more or less excited for the games now? Or are you just sick of it and just wish we could cancel the games altogether? Let me know in the comments section down below. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'm Pikos, and we've been talking tactics.